Good morning. Welcome to our daily devotion. It is Friday, May 28th. As always, I appreciate you people, those of you that have stayed committed to these daily devotions. God will honor that. I don't know how to grow your faith other than spending time daily with God. Morning, Serena. It's something that I've done most of my life. And so I appreciate those of you that are doing that same thing. Good morning, Grace. Spending time with God. You're going to spend eternity with Him in heaven. Why not spend time with Him here on earth? It amazes me how few people see the need to do that, to see the need to actually spend time with God on a daily basis. We're in Matthew chapter 23, and I'm going to read verses 13 and 14. Good morning, John. This is Jesus talking to the scribes and the Pharisees. Before I read it, the Pharisees were legalistic Jews, popular with the common people for their apparent piety. They acted pious all the time. Morning, Mary. Morning, Lily. They acted pious, and the common people looked up to that. And then the scribes were the professional interpreters of the Old Testament. They were the teachers. When you hear the word teachers, that was the scribes. They were the very people that Jesus exposed for their hypocrisy. And just reading it, we're going to see today, Jesus uses the words, woe to you. And everybody knew what that meant. It meant God's judgment on his people. So let me read it, verses 13 and 14. It says, woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, teachers of the law or the scribes, you hypocrites. You shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. Wow. Jesus says, you don't enter the kingdom of heaven, and you're keeping people from entering that are trying to enter. Today's read teaches telling them that instead of leading people to Jesus, they're actually having stumbling blocks to keep people from being saved. As we know, Jesus was the way to salvation, and yet they were completely rejecting Jesus. They were leading the people away from Jesus rather than towards Jesus. So Jesus is saying, woe to you, woe to you. You will be judged by God for that. So here's what I want to talk about. How do people do this today? Does this happen today? And unfortunately it does. Let me just give you a few examples. I know youth that genuinely now think of this. So many youth today have no desire to go to church. Yet there are youth that want to go, but their parents won't give them a ride to get there. I know all my life I've seen that. I've seen youth that genuinely want to go to church, but the parents are unwilling to take the time to bring them. I constantly had to pick youth up in order for them to be able to get to church. That's why I bought a minivan. The reason people always ask me, why did you ever buy a minivan? Because that's known as a soccer mom's van. Well, that's exactly why I bought it. Because I knew that I would be giving rides to my grandchildren, to youth that want to go to church. So in the years past, I've filled my vehicle up with youth. Good morning, Paul. I remember one time going to an outing, and on my vehicle's seats 11. And I think I had something like 17 kids in there in order to be able to get them back home, because the parents that were supposed to pick them up never picked them up, and so I had to bring them back. That's the reason I bought a minivan. So how does it happen today? Parents not willing to give rides to the youth. I had a parent Wednesday that volunteered to drive all the way down to downtown Long Beach to pick up two youth that used to come to the youth group all the time, but now they still want to go but can't. Now, it's not the mom's fault. She works. She has to work. So I have a mom of three of the youth that come to the youth group that is willing to drive all the way down to downtown Long Beach to pick these two youth up so they can come to the youth group, then bring it back. God will bless her for volunteering to do that. God will honor that. I know of spouses that make it extremely hard for their spouse to go to church. They're especially critical of if their spouse gives it money towards the church. They're extremely critical of that. They're critical if their spouse gives time to the church. They're unwilling to help get the children ready to go to church. So Jesus was hard on the scribes and Pharisees for being obstacles. Well, boy, there's people today that are obstacles. So if you know of people that want to go, morning, Paul, if you know of people that want to go to church and can't go, boy, do whatever you can to help them to get there. Do whatever you can. I thought it was awesome when I saw Dawn drive to the church the last 2 weeks with her van. She has a van that she uses to feed the homeless. I thought it was awesome that she used her van to bring a whole group of people to church. And these are people that aren't part of Collision. They've been visiting, and Dawn has been giving them a ride to get there. So, Lily, you live close to downtown? I didn't know that. Oh, wow. I'll get together with you, Lily, I did not know that, because there's some other, I don't know how big a vehicle you have. There's two of them. Then I know of two other boys that want to come to youth group that live right off 7th Street, 7th and Jerry, and they can't get a ride. And in the past, I've been picking them up and giving them a ride. So anyway, I'll get a hold of you, Lily. Thanks for offering that. I did not know you lived down that way. I know that these two that I'm talking about lived off of, I think it's Long Beach Boulevard or Atlantic Boulevard, but I'll have to find out if they've moved or if they're still in that same place. But I'll find all that out. Okay, appreciate your willingness. I can promise you, Lily. I can promise you, Alicia, that your willingness to do that, God promises that He will pay you back 100-fold. Remember we talked about it Sunday morning at church? God will pay you back 100-fold. Remember the disciples said, well, we've done all this. What's in it for us? And Jesus said, there isn't anything you've done, nothing that you've done where God won't pay you back 100 times. 100 times. And not in this little lifetime of ours, but in eternity. In an eternity where you live forever and ever in heaven. That's where we want our rewards. That's where Jesus tells us to build up rewards. You're rewarded for doing things like that. And Lily, thanks for the donuts that you brought to Crash Wednesday. That was the first things that went. They were eating donuts before they even ate the pizza. So I can promise you that God will reward you. So if you know of people that want to go, that can't go for different reasons, boy, do everything you can to help them. I know I can remember before the pandemic, I was driving all the way down to Downey to pick up a couple girls. And then I'd have to drive all the way downtown Long Beach to pick up a couple people. And then I'd have to go to Hawaiian Gardens to pick up people, bring them to the youth group, and then after the youth group, bring them all back home. I would literally leave well over an hour ahead of time. I would leave to pick people up in order to get to the youth group on time. Now, I'm not saying this to post. I'm saying this that's what you need to be willing to do in order to help people to get to church. God honors that. So if there's people that you know of that need a ride or anything to get to church, do whatever you can to help them, please. Thanks for joining us this morning. If any of you know anything about Instagram, I'm not able to get these videos on Instagram anymore. I don't know if they cut the limit down from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going to end it right now because I'm right before 10 minutes, and I'm going to see if it'll go on. Thank you. See you tomorrow morning.